Okay, so this video is one of 3 videos, okay? This is over the apparatus, the double-headed pole. And granted, this is not a double-headed pole. And if you're watching my videos in like real time, I will film the other, or video the other 2 short videos over the actual physical use of the double-headed pole over the next day or 2. If this video was made a while, 2 months ago, it's already up. So why am I using the stick? Well, 2 things. I want to introduce the stick. So I also teach Master Chiao Tai Chi, and the stick, whether this is like a 4-foot stick, but even like a 42-inch, used a lot for forms, like cane forms, but other there's exercises. And so a lot of the postures that when I'm teaching the Tai Chi, the way that I'm utilizing the body is very much the same. Like in Master Chiao's Tai Chi, the body is elongated like this, right? It's not like this. It's like this. And you wouldn't want to do this anyway, because this creates a binding spot in my spine that it's curved, and it creates a weakness. The force would be going into my spine before we go into my foot. Just like if you rocked your elbow, it would be hard to use kinetic energy, like through the arm, right? It would have it's like you're damming it up, right? So kind of the same thing with this, right? I need my body like this. So use the stick for some fundamental exercises. But using the double-headed pole is much more physically demanding. I see people when they do the pole, and I'm going to give you some things to think about. My opinion may not be yours, and you may think, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and that's fine to do it like that. But just hear me out and think about it, right? So when you see people turn, a lot of times they'll do this, right? You see how I rounded my back. So if you didn't do that in the belt cracking exercises, you did do that in the forms, and if you try to do that in a throw, picking up a person or moving their weight, potentially you're going to have that same bind in your spine, and you're going to maybe at that one time you may hurt your back, or you may gradually create a condition over time, damaging the spine by doing things like this, right? Because really, in theory, the hip is locked, the spine, you're locking it. I can't really transfer weight down. So I'm using this today because it's to try to use the pole to concentrate on doing it right. It would be difficult to talk and do it at the same time. So with this video, I'm just going to look at the core stances again, right? And then the other 2, one will be over single stances done together in a unit, like the separate ones, and then the second video will be over combining those stances together, into a set of practice. And the great thing about the double-headed pole, it's not weightlifting. Okay, don't think like that. It's moving weight through motion, and you can do that with squats. Yes, right. So I've got this on my back, and I'm doing a squat, and my back is fundamentally in a line. I can make all of this stuff work together, right? And I can put a lot of weight. But of course, it does affect the spine at the top, and if you don't do it properly, you push too much to your knees, yada yada yada. Injuries can occur. But what we're doing when we do our stuff, we're in this line. We're in the straight line, right? Or we're in the straight line, and then on top of that, we twist on the core. So when you have the weight, it's not about putting, I can do the double-headed pole and I can put 150 pounds on it. Well, what not, it would be difficult to do anyway, especially if you're using a pole where, you can't make a full grip, right? It's not like this. If you did this with more weight, with the same amount of weight, it would be easier to do it because you can use your strength in a different way. But it should be open, right? So, but when I do the motion, look, you see what I'm saying? I really have to rely on my abdominals and my lumbar to be able to support this, right? And then look, when I rotate, look, my body is still in that line, and now I've rotated, I've turned with the core, the obliques, the lats, the lumbar, the abdominals, the psoas muscles that are supporting the spine, all those muscles are working hard. But look how I have this pole, right? I would want to do it like this, not like this, or not like this, right? If I did it like this, I'm going to put all of that in my back. If I do it like this, I'm tweaking my spine the other way. I would want to be able to try to support the pole through the turn like this. And then look, if I turn back, and I turn me out, and I twist, I want this thing to line up with me, right? Not over here, not back here, not out here, but I want that weight to be able to come down into that back foot, right? This is transferring down into this. So I don't want to put my arms like this. Then I'm just going to drive it all into my rotator cuffs. I'm going to put the weight in here into my shoulder girdle. I want to connect it down into these muscles and into my hip line and transfer it down into the foot. Right? Here, turn, twist. And you will see, if you've been doing it with, say, a double-headed pole and you have X weight on it, and you try to do it the way that I'm sharing with you right now, you will probably have to take you will have to change the weight. Or you're just super strong and you can do it, right? It's one or the other. So we have the marching stance that I'm sharing with you, right? He's here like this. This is in a straight line. I twisted, and this is still right above me, right? And I'm not bending the back. I'm not, letting it kick over from one side or the other. So we've got the marching, and then we have our steaming stance, right? So I can do the steaming stance, or I can do it as a resting stance. So as this leg comes across, this is going to come out. And again, I want that alignment, right? Don't encourage yourself to let your back round. Keep it here. Very difficult to do. Like this, right? See how long the stance is. Keep your elbows under you. Don't let them fan out. And then if I do it as more of a resting stance, look, my torso is in a straight line. Right? It's here. Just like before, it's in a straight line. But I'm going up and down, right? Because I'm this way. But look, as I elongate the leg, then I'm here, right? My back is still straight. Here, or here. Here, or here. The more that I'm in this elongation, the more the abdominals and the lumbar have to work. If I was going to do knee seizing, I'm going to be in this position, right? I have to rely on my abdominals and my lumbar to support me, but also for me to be able to generate power, right? And then if I articulate the core and I twist on it, I need to be able to have a stable structural to it. So the double-headed pole is really helping you to strengthen the core again so you can develop force and structural stability, right? Again, I do knee seizing and I'm in this line, right? I'm in this line and these muscles are holding me upright, right? If not, I'd be here, right? They hold me up. And even if I do the stance narrow like this, right? I still have that line. If I don't, like this leg is not like locked, right? It's closed. But if I bend it, I'm still straight. I'm still straight. But people will do this. They'll bend the lower spine, and then it rounds this, and it puts all of this pressure into your lower back. Well, if you're doing it every now and then, it may not cause you any problems. But if you're doing that, and you're practicing Shuai, and you're trying to develop yourself, and you're doing it over not months or potentially years, and you want to be able to stay effective, like one of the things in Shuai, right? Strength beats 10 techniques. Basically, what it's trying to describe to you is that strength is very, very important in the whole scheme of things. So if you're not practicing your training apparatus, and maybe not, there's other things that you could be doing, but weight training, free weights I would recommend, not machines, but a lot of the same things that CrossFit athletes do, where they're moving weight through a range of motion, like where they really have to rely on the core more for stability. Those type of things are great. The same inherent problems with CrossFit that you could develop through doing Chiao, not even doing the apparatus, but just through doing the throws. A lot of people in CrossFit end up having they damage the lower back, they damage the neck, they damage the knees, they damage the rotator cuffs, because they're not slowing it down enough to use weight accordingly to strengthen the body, and primarily it's because they're not using the structure of the body and the posture of the body in the right way, and so they create these weak points where stress and force are generated into that spot, and that's how the back gets hurt, or how the knee gets hurt, right? They're doing actions, or people are doing actions where you're trying to bend the knee out, and the knee only moves this way. You're doing things like this, so it ends up tearing the meniscus, or ligaments that surround the knee, the connective tissue. It's very, very important to take care of your body, right? We're not training in martial arts to cripple ourselves up. We're doing it for the long term. So like I said, the marching stance, straight line, body's here, this is here. Don't bend like this, right? If I'm doing something like a skating stance, which in theory is the same as a marching stance, it's just I'm moving backwards. Straight line, weights here, and I'm not moving like, some people do like this, right? Bend the weight like that. Okay, well, two things are going on. One, they probably have too much weight on the pole, and two, they're trying to stabilize themselves, right? They're trying to do this and not rely on the abdominals and the lumbar to support the body. This resting stance, look, I am straight up and down, and look, I want to hear, I'm not going to do this. I want to be able to keep that connection, so when I step and drive, I can maintain it. There's stepping across the front too, right? We do that with a lot of different drills, right? So with the stick or the pole, right, I come across, I step, I turn, right? Like going really the other way, I step, and I turn, step, and look, I can rest in the position that it's upright. Moving with a bow stance. So I have my bow stance, and I'm here, and as I step through to do another bow stance. Look, I'm in this line. I bend on the back leg, right? I don't do this to the back. I'm here, I bend, and then look, I'm gonna use that force to push my foot out. All right? And again, don't let yourself round it. Keep yourself here. Bend. Come through. I can do it over the top too, right? I start with it here, more in a crouching stance, and as I bring it through, I step. Right? So, anyway, just a short but long video. It's very important if you're watching me do some of these apparatus, or you're watching somebody else, pay very close attention to your back. Okay, I try to strengthen the core and build my body up. I'm not trying to break it down or cause myself chronic injuries by my training, but me doing throws or doing the apparatus to strengthen the body more so that I can do the throws even better. And the same thing with the belt backing and with the forearms. I really want to maintain these lines, right? If I need to step through, I bend it. Right? It's the same thing with Master Chong's Tai Chi. Right? I have to maintain that line. The Chiao Bao, if you've watched this, it's something very new if you're watching it. Within a week, I will produce the videos for all of the Chiao Bao with some explanation. But the Chiao Bao is no different. Well, it's different in the sense that it's affecting your structural stability. Right, like you get these pieces where the feet are on the same line, and I have to be able to manage this, right, and to keep from losing my stability, right. One foot is directly behind the other. If I turn it in a little bit, I give myself stability. But here, I have to use the connective tissue and the stabilizer muscles and the ankle, the knee, and the hip to maintain the stability. And at the same time, look, I still have that same line, right? I still have that same straight line with my body. Really important. It's in every aspect of the training, of the foundational content to develop you to be able to execute the throws with proficiency. Like, in other words, I can show you how to do a throw, and you may not know any of this stuff, right? And that's, and you can execute, and that's wonderful. But if you want to be able to do it with more power, more speed, more stability, you want to be able to do it long term, then you have to be able to take care of the body right, develop the body in which to do it. There's one thing to learn how to use it in the short term, and then there's long term to maintain yourself. So I'm in my mid-50s, and I have a relatively decent balance for someone in my age bracket. Strength-wise, I could be practicing more to increase my strength more, and that should be my number one thing in my age bracket. Depending on how old you are, like I teach I'm not trying to get off on a different subject, but I teach Tai Chi a lot. I teach 3 swatch-out classes a week, 3 2-hour classes, a standard week. I don't have a lot of students per se. I have a lot of people come in for privates for Tai Chi classes. Where am I going with this? A lot of older people come to me and say they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even in their late 40s. And they go, I need to increase the strength of my legs, my balance, my stability, or the doctor's recommended something like that. Or the lower back hurts. Well, the lower back hurts because they sit in the chair all the time, and the chair is what's supporting the back. So then the lumbar becomes weak, and then when they stand there for any length of time, and the muscles start to spasm, and it hurts. So they need to strengthen it. But I'm a firm believer that somebody in their 20s, they have strength, they have more mobility, they have all of these attributes, right? They can have really terrible posture and structural stability, right? But the muscles and the mobility of the body can mask it. But then when they get older, say in their 50s or the 60s or whatever, the muscles have atrophied and the range of motion, mobility is somewhat faded. Now the balance becomes really noticeable. It's not like one day because somebody turns 60 and all of a sudden they don't have balance. Yes, you could, really if the muscles are totally atrophied, but if they have really good posture and good balance, even at that state, they probably still would have much more stability. What I'm getting at is if you were 20 and you had poor balance, you probably still have it at 60. It's just now that the muscles are so much weaker, it's it's more visible, it's more pronounced. We all have things that we need to work on with our posture and our strength and our stability. And if you're doing something like Chiao, that's a body movement thing, especially that gears toward the core a lot, you have to be very careful, and you want to be able to do the range of motion exercises that, I do a whole set of range of motion exercises and joint loosening stuff to keep the body limber as well. But again, if I'm working these bell cracking, these forms, the cowbell forms, the apparatus, I'm going to keep the core strong. It's going to help me to correct my posture, and that is, in the long run, those kind of things are going to give me a better quality of life. Like say you're doing it in your 30s, fragile, or in your 20s, or whatever, your 40s, and you picked it up and you start correcting the posture, you strengthen on your core, you're walking, your posture is improved, you're doing so much better. You can take that and keep using that and training that stuff, and then when you get older, you're going to have less of an issue with stability in the body. It's like my Sifu says. If you can lift the leg up, right? You can do this. That's so important as you age. If you're doing squat jobs in the 30s, you can do these leg lifting throws. The value goes beyond what you're doing it for the throw itself. What I'm getting at is as you age and you're in your 60s or your 70s, and you can still have this type of stability and balance that you can keep the leg up here, your ability to be so much more independent, have less pains in your body, all of this stuff is directly related in a lot of ways to your balance, your structural stability, strength in the core, how you've kept your connective tissue, your joints loose, and all of that stuff. So the value of training in Chiao and Master Chong's Tai Chi goes beyond just the ability to do that throw when you're 30 or 35. Those healthy results that you're doing to improve the core of the body. Look at any of the video of Master Chong. The man is, he's over 70 years old, and he's doing throws with people. Now, you may think that's easy because you're 40, right? But you have to maintain your own stability, right? And then you're throwing somebody else, whether it's a demonstration or not. But to be able to do that at an advanced age is wonderful. And that's what I'm striving for. And again, you can see pictures of Master Chong in his, I want to say, late 60s, 70s. He's got excellent muscle mass. And I'm going to say directly related to some of the training apparatus that he's using or using during that time to maintain that body. And so important for all of us. So again, I hope you liked the video, and I encourage you, if you don't use Chiao, to give it a try with somebody that's a competent instructor. Or if you're doing it, I highly encourage you to learn the apparatus, practice them, add them into what you do. Put more effort into the forms, put more effort into the bell cracking, learn the Tao bell. Those things right there if you really like Chiao and you're doing it, that's the stuff that's going to help you to keep doing it when you're 50 or when you're 60 or when you're 70. I know that sounds crazy, but I want to be able to maintain my body for as long as I can. We all do this decline, right? But do you want to make a decline like this, or do you want to decline like this with your life? The more I can maintain the mobility and the range of motion of my joints and the strength of my core and my legs and my balance and my posture and all of that, the longer I'm